Yeah, well, not really the headline you hope to see in the wee hours of the morning. The Bad Batch star says season 3 is the end of George Lucas' Star Wars legacy. I think that ended with the sequel trilogy, but all right. Bad Batch voice actor D. Bradley Baker, who voices all of the clones, opens up about how the final season serves as a culmination of George Lucas's legacy. Speaking with Screen Rant, Baker, who voices all the clones, opened up about how the Bad Batch honors Lucas's legacy within the show. That actually tracks back to the original idea that George Lucas came up with because this is sort of the end of George Lucas's legacy in the Bad Batch. Whoa, wait. This is sort of the end of George Lucas's legacy is the Bad Batch. He came up with the idea and it was part of the original Clone Wars series that he made with Dave Filoni. Baker explained, the dynamic that he and the writers came up with was very clear, so that they feel so different that it was actually easier for me than keeping the clones distinct because they all feel like such different people to me. Wait, that's it? There's nothing else? Bro, it's like, oh my God, the bait. The most clickbaity headline. All right, well, what can we take away from this? You know, I sometimes I go into these articles just making a video off of the title, and I'm like, cool, you know, just so I can read it with you guys for the first time, as if, you know, just like any other normal person, but except doing it with you. And so what can we take away from this? All right, well, the Bad Batch were supposed to be part of what George wanted when he owned Lucasfilm. And a lot of the ideas for the clones are from George. So it's not really like, oh, this is something that Dave created or Disney created. This is probably, in a sense, yeah, I think he's right. Really like the last sort of thing that's being, you know, tied at the end from what George started or what he wanted to be made. You know, the Ahsoka show isn't necessarily something George wanted to happen. It's not like he started it. He wanted Ahsoka to die in the Clone Wars. The Mandalorian, I mean, George never started that. The Mandalorian was a spin-off from, you know, what I think is George's 50-episode treatments of the show that he was going to do regarding the underworld of Coruscant, which was going to be all about, you know, the bounty hunters and Boba Fett after Revenge of the Sith. And that would have been an amazing show, but I think The Mandalorian kind of takes inspiration from that. So that's not really, you know, tying the end of what George already started. But I think the Bad Batch actually could be the end of what George wanted and started. So I don't think there's really any other project that he had in his mind that he started or wanted to start. And of course, with the Bad Batch, yeah, he didn't start it, but he did want those characters in the Clone Wars. He did start the animated Clone Wars. So essentially, yeah, I mean, D. Bradley Baker is telling the truth, is that, yeah, this kind of is like, it's not the end of George Lucas' Star Wars in the sense of, you know, what the title sort of clickbaits, which is like, they're not going to respect it. Well, yeah, they already haven't respected his story anyways. But I guess now it's really the end of something that he may have started. You know, they finished off the Skywalker saga. I hope, you know, how much more can you really destroy that, hurt that thing? Then they're going on and now doing the Clone Wars. They finished the Clone Wars. They now want to finish the Bad Batch. So yeah, I guess that's pretty much the end. I mean, Tales of the Jedi, it still could be, because I feel like, honestly, I feel like Tales of the Jedi is the most George thing that we've had since Disney bought Lucasfilm, and I'm enamored with that show. I think Dave knows exactly what he's doing whenever it comes to animated, but you know, hey, we'll see what happens going forwards. I hope it's going to be exactly what George would have wanted, and we can always kind of tell like what feels Georgie, you know. Like, you know, like what feels George Lucas-esque and what doesn't, right? So, you know, Tales of the Jedi versus, you know, Mando Season 3. I don't think Mando Season 3 felt anything like George Lucas sort of, or, you know, the Kenobi show. I don't think that felt anything at all. To be honest, you take the Kenobi show or the Boba Fett show, and those are probably the most non-George Lucas things out there, sadly. I mean, you know, of course, the addition of Ewan McGregor and Liam Neeson at the end of it, and Hayden Christensen returning, you know, that doesn't necessarily make it George Lucas-esque. It brings the characters back. But, you know, those just completely, though I don't even think those were on the same train tracks as what George had created for his railroad system of Star Wars. So, yeah. Yeah, I didn't think of it like that until I read this whole thing. So, yeah. This is probably the end, the last thing that George really wanted or worked on to be finished. And again, you know, we have no idea where necessarily the story was supposed to go with George. Dave Filoni does a lot of things differently than what George would have wanted. So again, there's no real way of knowing unless we go and ask them. and they tell us the truth. But I hope that there are some other projects that George had maybe in the pipeline that, he was going to create. If you didn't know, he was actually going to make episode 7, and then he was going to sell it to Disney because he knew that then they would have to continue on the story that he created. But he didn't. He ended up selling, and they promised, or they rather made him believe that they were going to use his treatments, and they didn't. But anyways, yeah, hey, I'm excited for The Bad Batch. I think it's a great show. I think it's pretty cozy. There's some episodes, of course, that are slow as heck, but it's all in good fun, and I appreciate the show. I like the show, and I hope you guys enjoy watch parties with me. So see you guys tomorrow night for The Bad Batch Season 3, Episode 1, 2, and 3, watch party at 11:59 p.m. Pacific Time, 2:59 a.m. Eastern, right here on the channel. We'll probably be like an hour early anyways and just hang out with you guys and game or chill or whatever it might be. So see you guys there. Adios. May the force be with you.